Hello punters and welcome to another Saturday racing preview. Of course, in this video looking at the Randwick races on Saturday, so really looking forward to that. Obviously, if you've already watched my Flemington video, you obviously would be well aware that obviously I had a couple of weeks off prior to releasing these videos. So I just had to have a couple of weeks before we obviously get into the spring, where I'm going to be planning on uploading videos regularly, week by week, leading right up through spring and then through to the summer months again. So just thought I'd just have a bit of a spell, so apologies if you weren't aware. Obviously, I did make it well aware on my social media channels to those who follow me on there. But we are back now. We're going to be back every single week, and also I'm going to be bringing to you a couple of interviews as well, including one that is going to be coming from the UK. So any of you international racing fans who love your UK racing, obviously stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking all things horse racing about Royal Ascot. Look at the Derby this weekend as well, so really looking forward to that. It's going to be a great chat. We're going to be looking at potentially some of the horses to follow going to the future, and potentially what is being sort of looked at with the Melbourne Cup. Obviously, this year we've got a bit of uncertainty with the whole COVID-19, whether or not we'll be able to see those international horses here in Australia for the Melbourne Cup. So we have to wait and see on that. But nonetheless, I will be talking to him about that. So stay tuned for that. So really looking forward to having that special guest on for an interview. So stay tuned for that. But as for now, we'll be just getting into the races here in Australia on Saturday and finding plenty of winners. We're going to be doing that at Randwick. So heavy 9 track on Saturday at this stage. Looking at race number 1 on the card, over 1,300 metres, benchmark 72 race. With the speed map here, I'd say Tajori and Edison will find the top, as well as Ferretti. Brazen Gem and Papa Warrior will probably be up towards the top as well. So be a decent amount of pace in this race here, I'd suggest. And I think it'll set up nice for number 10, Concealed, who I think it's well over the odds here. Came out of a really good 2-year-old race last start behind Smart and Sexy. Now, reads on paper 10th. It was only 3.7 lengths off, so it wasn't that bad of a run. And it actually just was, again, well back in the field, but it was in a really strong race. Prior to that, it won on a heavy track at Canterbury, which was a really good performance, being Edmund on that occasion. A return to that sort of performance considers horse run really well here. So the fact that it's back on a heavy track, coming back in grade significantly, comes down to the 54 kilos, so right down the bottom of the weight. So I think this horse got plenty of ticks suggested to run a really good race. So I think $27 is well over the odds. I can't believe this horse is the outside of the field. So I'm going to have it on top personally. I think it's going to be hard to beat. I have number 2, Travest, who obviously those who follow me on my social media accounts would be well aware that this horse has got a lot of ability. Obviously beat Darleb last start, who came out yesterday and won, albeit narrowly, at Randwick on the Kensington track. My apologies for that. So Travis has definitely got a lot of ability, and that's very obvious. But it comes out now at $3. Just has to prove it, I think, and I'd rather go something at a bit of each way odds in this type of race. Number 4, Sweeping Statement, I think can run good race. Obviously, last start was on a heavy track behind Varda. Now, again, like I always do with any of the Sydney siders, you probably understand the weather conditions, what it is like outside in comparison to me reading it on, I guess, the weather radars and the news sites. So if you do think we might see a track downgrade, let me know. Otherwise, if we're going to be playing with that heavy surface, which I suggest we would, generally being a heavy 9, it will take a fair bit of drying out to get it right down to a soft 7 or a soft 6. So I think that we'll be playing with a heavy track, which doesn't really favour Sweeping Statement. If we do manage to get into that soft range, I think this horse will come right into it, because its first up performance 2 starts back was really, really impressive on the Kensington track. If it bounced back to that type of form, $10 is a bit of over the odds about it. And Ferretti's probably the other horse I think can run well enough. Was pretty good last start at Newcastle, finished 3rd. Was beaten by Full Meaner, has since come out and won again, obviously last week. So on a Saturday race, so the form is really good out of that race for Ferretti. So no problems of finishing being beaten by Full Meaner. So the form's good for him. And also, look, the other one that I think has got a bit of a chance here is number 7, Papa Warrior. If that inside barrier, I think can run well enough as well. But look, I'm going with the 2-year-old coming up against the older horses and comes in at 54 kilos. Number 10, Concealed, outside the field. I just don't think that's right. I think this horse has got plenty of room for improvement, and we're going to see that here tomorrow on Saturday. So $27 odds, really going to like it. Going to have it on top. And number 2, Travest, who I think's got an absolute stack of ability and is the horse to watch. For me, $3 is probably a fair price, so I just would rather go with Concealed the slightly bigger odds. But if you are counting Travest, I could definitely suggest having an investment there. It's a very good horse. In for 3rd, number 4, Sweeping Statement, and in for 4th, number 5, Ferretti. Moving on to race number 2 on the program now. It's the Tab Highway Handicap over 1200, over the 1000 metres this time. And a really big field as well. 21 horses in the race at this stage, which is always what we like to see. Moving on into the speed map. I suggest that I'm on a break. I'm on break. Will go forward. Muzzle Burst will be up there. Talus will also be up towards the speed. Lord Tony and Conti, Taylor the Kraut and Mount Jeanette, the two stablemates of barriers 17 and 18. If they both run, will be up towards the pace as well. So looks to be a lot of speed, and I guess you can expect that in a highway race, but then also secondly in a 1,000-metre race as well. So that was to be expected. Look, in this race here, I'm quite keen on number 4, Chalez, for James McDonald, obviously Matthew Dunn, the trainer. I think this horse has got a very good chance. It has a very good first up record, 3 starts for 2 wins and a placing. It's had 2 starts on a soft for 2 wins, so it has handled the wet track before. It's never been exposed on a heavy track, which is a little concern. But I think $6.50 is a price where you can really, I guess, experiment with some of these horses where you're not too sure, because it is a good enough price to find out. Number 1, Golden Avenger, the other one in the market who I think has got a really good chance. So the market reflects the top 2 that I have as well. This horse is really good over the 1,000 metres. Had 3 starts for 3 wins over the distance. Has had starts on soft surfaces for 2 wins, a win and a placing off 2 starts, which is also ultimately important, and a good first up record. So I think they're the 2 to beat. The other horse I do think has a chance. I think Lord Tony's a bit over the odds at $17. Had a nice second last time out behind Malahad, who has its fair share of abilities. That was in a Tamworth Open race there. So this is definitely easier than that in my opinion. So I think $17 as well over the odds about it, and has some form, has won on a soft track before, never been on a heavy, but like I mentioned earlier with the previous 2, the fact that it's got that soft track form and it's big odds, you can definitely play each way to find out. And the other horse that I don't mind at a bit of an each way price as well. I mean, they all are, and this is going to be the beauty of this highway race. It's a very hard race to split, but I do think number 9, Bad Boy for Love, will run a good race as well. Obviously, second last time out behind Partners in that in the highway race there. So I think that's a good form race as well. As Partners has got a bit of ability for a highway race, and always looks set to be winning that one there, but did make good ground late on that occasion. So I do put a bit of respect to that, and is exposed on heavy track, which is obviously a positive. So recap the numbers for me. I'm pretty keen to go with Chazelle's on top, with James McDonald in the saddle, ahead of number 1, Golden Adventure, in the second. In the third, I've got number 2, Lord Tony. I think it was really good each way odds. And in for third, number 9, Bad Boy for Love. Moving on to race number 3 on the program now. It's the race number 3, 1100 metre grunt, standing at Yulong, benchmark 70 race here. Look at the speed map for this one. I'd suggest that obviously we'll see the likes of Mr. Polar, Talur go to the top, De Groen. Best Stone will probably be not far off. Switched will be up there. Hulk will be up towards the pace as well. So really is a lot of tempo in this race here, but can be expected for a 1100 metre race. Now, the horse has been really strongly backed in this race. Number 10, Talia, who's obviously coming to this first up off a really dominant win back in January, where it won at Gosford by, 4 lengths. On that occasion, has had 2 strong trials leading in behind likes of Rebel Miss and Vada. But for me, $2.40 is just a bit short now. I do think this horse has got a stack of ability, and she's definitely one to watch, and she's obviously been extremely strongly backed as well, which is always a positive. But for me, look, I'm going to go with a bit more exposed form, and I think number 5, Best Stone's the one that I want to be with here. It's a horse that's run on a soft track 4 times for 2 wins and 2 placings. Comes in this first up off a decent trial under the synthetic behind Embracer and King's Peak. So, and like I said, I just think this horse, she's got a very good chance with National Will in the saddle. She was nominated to run yesterday at the Randwick Kensington track. She was scratched and put in for this race instead, which shows a lot of positivity from John Thompson, the trainer, suggesting that she could maybe run well in a race like this. So she goes on top for me, ahead of number 10, Talia, who's obviously... she's the real one to be watching for. We've got no idea on how good her ability is, and she's obviously a bit untapped. She's had obviously had that first race start, then she was spelled after that, so she could come in and run really well here, especially when she's been so strongly backed from, I think she opened at $4.80 and she's gone to $2.40 now, so that's a real massive move about her. So she goes in for second. In the third, number 4, Hulk, who's been in good form, and last time out he had a bit of an average run, but he was only 3 lengths off Poetic Charmer and Monde Ditto, and there's a couple of horses at that race who I think can go on with it from there. So I think that form race is not too bad. And prior to that, I obviously finished fourth behind Moe's Crown on a heavy track there on that occasion. So I just think this horse can run well enough at the $7. And Switch, she always seems to do her thing. She has never missed a place on a heavy track, but that seems to be all she does at the moment. So I am leaving her in my top four, but I do think she'll be right up in the finish once again. Just couldn't suggest her as a real sort of winning proposition just because she just doesn't know how to win. It's as simple as that. But if you want to go with a place bet or something, she's definitely a strong chance in that respect. And also, obviously, with the most bookmakers having the second or third, you get the bonus bet back. You've got to give her a bit of a chance there as well. So, but look, they're the key chances of the race. I think Key Largo, number 9, does have a bit of a chance for Bryce Hayes. This horse beat Mr. Colourful last start, who goes round at Hawkesbury today. So I'll wait and see how that horse performs there to see what the format of that is. But the horse was in good form before that. Obviously had a couple of seconds behind the likes of Archery Butts and Great News as well. So decent enough form. Not sure if it's good enough to beat some of these, but could definitely be potentially competitive. But an Irish Angel's the other one that I think can run a good race. Obviously, winning last start on a heavy track at Canterbury, that was a good performance. And obviously, with that heavy track win, brings in that little bit of merit coming into a race like this. But look, I'm very keen on the top 4, and the market suggests that as well. Number 5, Best Stones Mile on top, are ahead of number 2, Talia. In the third, number 4, Hulk, and in for fourth, number 2, Switched. Moving on into race number 4 on the program now, and it is the 800 metre Quincy Seltzer benchmark 88 race. Looking at the speed map here for this one. It suggests that Mr. Dependable and Dylan's Romance will be up towards the pace. Tory Joy will probably be up there as well. I'd suggest Dark Eyes will probably sit in a box set in behind them, so they're probably the ones to watch for. But look, I'm going to go with Mr. Dependable here. I was counting him last start. He did an absolute stack of work to find the front last time out, and he just was left wanting late, and Agassi was out running down, being a rock-hard fit horse. On the heavy track there. I think he can run well again. He was very good on that occasion. Like I said, he had to work to get to the front. I don't think he'll have to work as hard to find the front in this race here. And if he can do that without spending too much petrol, he'll be really hard to beat. So he goes on top. And number 2, Milkman, who goes in for second. I thought he was really good winning last start at Doomben last Saturday. 2 Saturdays ago. So he comes into this now, comes back to Sydney. The only problem is that he's run at Randwick 4 times and he's never been in the top 3. So that is a bit of a concern, but he is in good form at the moment. He hasn't missed a top 3 finish in his last 4 starts, so he's in good form. $5 is a good price about him, so he goes in for second. In for third, I've got number 4 Matawi, who comes in this third up off a 5th last start behind Tantrum Run and Soldier of Love. Obviously, that's a much stronger form race than what some of these are coming out of. And prior to that, came out of the race where Man of Peace and Outrageous paired off to fight it out. And format of that race was pretty good as well. So Matawi does come out of good form races, comes in this third up, which I think will be much more suited to it. It's a horse that's run 4 times third up for 2 wins. So I think we'll see improvement out of Matawi. Is definitely a danger to Milkman and Mr. Dependable. And the other horse that I think has a good chance as well, as the market suggests, is number 6, High Opinion, who finished 5th last time out behind Elaborate and Terwilliger over 2,400 metres now. Comes right back to 1,800 metres, so a big step back in distance. I'm interested to see if Jason Collett pushes forward on him to see if he wants to try and outstay these, which he could do. It'd be interesting to see if he has that sharp sprint over that 100 metres in comparison to 2,400, which he's been competing in over his last couple of starts. But look, I'm going to go with number 7, Mr. Dependable on top. Pretty confident in his chances, so I think he can win this race ahead of number 2, Milkman, and also number 4, Matawi, obviously the 2 dangers, in for second and third respectively, and in for fourth, number 6, High Opinion as well. The other horse I do think is one that I want to be sort of watching for is number 1, Hallelujah. I thought Hallelujah Boys were over the odds because he's a horse that really loves a wet track, a heavy track. And I mean, I know he hasn't really been up to it, but you got to have a look from his last few starts. But prior to that, he was in good form. So this wouldn't surprise me if he comes out, runs a big, bold race. Sometimes those heavy trackers, you just got to stick with them because they will get up at the big odds at some stage. So maybe he might be the one that will be a bit of a knockout. But I thought that this horse was this race was well sort of marketed, and I think that they're the order that I want to be with in general. Move on to race number 5 now. It's a 1,000 metre Ramvent benchmark 78 race, and looking at the speed map here, the race number 5, I'd suggest that Space Boy will probably be able to clear these and find the top end with Invincible Kiss, so I'd suggest be the one that might go up there with it. Lashes will probably sit off the pace, so I'd suggest as well as Worldly Pleasure and Twirling Moss off inside barrier, but I think Space Boy can find the front, and You know what I do? He is hard to catch, but he was really good last start. He really did turn the corner, and I was very, very confident. I made him my best bet of the day on that day at Wyong when he won on a Thursday, and he just absolutely bolted it. He was terrific that day. And I just think that maybe that might get his confidence up, and he might be able to deliver this time. He does seem to do it whenever he's not at the at sort of rock bottom odds on prices. So he comes out at $5 here. I think he'll find the top. He could potentially dictate the terms in the 1,000 metre race, and he could be hard to run down. So I'm going to have him on top ahead of number 3, Lashes, who I think she'll bounce back off her last start performance. So she finished 7th at Rosehill on a heavy track, obviously behind In and Up and Adelong. That's a really strong form race. So she goes from benchmark 88 down to 78. So big drop in class. I think she'll run well. She obviously loves a heavy track as well. She's had 4 starts for 2 wins in her placing. Last start on the heavy was her only failure on it, so it was a bit of a concern, but she did race wide without cover on that occasion. She was probably had every right to drop out of the race there, so I can forgive that performance. I think she can run well in for second, but 2:45, probably just a little bit short for me. In for third, number 2, Superium, who he's getting closer to a win. He obviously was really good last start, finishing 5th at Randwick behind Poetic Charm and Monte Ditto. I mentioned that form in a race prior to this one. Obviously, think that that'll be some nice enough form. I think Superior can come out of that run well. And the other horse that I think is a bit over the odds, the other horse that I've got in for 4th is number 6, Longbottom, who's been consistently running good races, just hasn't been winning. But I think that could potentially change here. It's a horse who runs really well on heavy tracks, had 3 starts for a win and 2 placings. He's at the distance, he's had 4 starts for 2 wins and 2 placings. So as a top 3 perspective, he's got a very good chance at $6.50 and $2.05 to place. The other horse that I think that potentially could pose a bit of a danger to some of these is number 8, Worldly Pleasure, who has a really good first up record of 4 starts for 3 wins and a placing. Doesn't have great form on a heavy track though. It's had 2 starts for no placings, but it does have form on a soft track and has form at the 1,000 meters first up. So could be a big knockout chance at $26. I'll definitely be putting it in quaddies and trifectas, first fours and the like. But recapping my numbers for race number 5, I do think that Space Boy is the one to beat here. So he goes on top ahead of number 3, Lashes, in for second. In for third, number 2, Superium. And in for fourth, number 6, Longbottom. So moving on into race number 6 at Randwick on Saturday. Looking at its 2,400 metre race. It's the Tab Live Vision benchmark 78. Look at the speed map here for this one. Really open race as the betting suggests. Shangani Patrol, I think, will find the top with Elaborate. I think True Marvel and Lady Highly will probably just sit just off the pace. Continuation, He Runs Away, will probably be up there as well. And Terwilliger might even press on and get forward as well. So really good race here. And look, I've got to be with the favourite number 3, Elaborate. Been in really good form. Last start, I thought it was a good performance, finishing second behind Mount Popper. I think that's the right form to be bringing into this. Was obviously hitting the line strongly on that occasion. It's a horse who's well exposed on heavy tracks now. He's had 2 starts for a win and a placing, which is obviously a positive. And I just think he can bounce back and get back into winning form. He obviously hasn't missed a top 2 finish in his last 4 starts. I think he's a very good and safe bet to go on top. Ahead of number 6, Tiger Royale, who is obviously the main danger coming from Victoria. It's had 2 really good wins last 2 starts at Geelong. The one that was sort of 2 starts back has been a pretty good form race, and there's a horse called Science to Deliver that's going around at Flemington. I also think it's a really good chance. So I've got to be with it and give it a good chance on a heavy track. Number 6, Tiger Royale, with Karen McAvoy in the saddle. So it goes in for second. I think they are the main 2, and the market does suggest that. But the other chance in the race is number 15, True Marvel, down the bottom. I think it's got a good chance. Was really impressive winning last start at Gosford and the one prior at Hawkesbury, where it beat Lord Tropicana on both occasions. So he's a horsing form and drops right down to 52 kilos, which right down the bottom of the weights with Miss Kathy O'Hara in the saddle. I think he can run a good race. So it goes in for third. Then for fourth, number 13, She's So Savvy, who I think can bounce back off its last start performance. It was disappointing, but it was really well backed last start. So you've got to perhaps forgive that performance and see if it can bounce back to the form that it had prior to its last start disappointment. It's a horse that hasn't missed a top 4 finish in its last 6. So it's a horse that's usually up there in the finish. So I've got to have it in my top 4 as well. Other chance in the race, He's Run Away and Lady Highly, they've got their chances as well in the race. They're big odds. And I think number 1, Resilient for Kieran Maher and Dave Eustace has also got a bit of a chance. Horse that's not very good on a heavy track, but it was a good second last start behind Artie Lucas on a soft track at Ballarat over the 2,000 metres. So if it could run like that again, it could run well enough here. But look, I'm pretty keen to go Elaborate on top, ahead of number 6, Tiger Royale, and for second. In for third, I've got number 15, True Marvel, and for fourth, number 13, She's So Savvy. Moving on to race number 7 now, and it's obviously a 1400 metre Sky Racing Active Benchmark 78 race. And look at the speed map for this one here. I'd suggest that our fun will probably go towards the top with Spanish Bream and Vitesse. They'll be the other ones that will be up towards the speed. Merlin Knight and Slow Burn are probably the other ones that will be pressing on just in behind the lead. I would suggest. Look, I'm pretty keen to go with Zuhaya here. $14 is a really good price about her. She's got an excellent second up record. She had 3 starts for 3 wins second up, so I think she'll run really well here. And look, she was just okay first up behind Show Mine and Maggie Miss, but I think that the form of that race hasn't been too bad. She has won on a heavy track before, which is obviously a big tick here as well. And just like I said, with that second up record, I think she can run well. So, and there looks to be a little bit of pace in the race, which will suit it for her nicely to hopefully come in and swoop over the top of them. So I think just thought $14 a bit over the odds. So she goes on top for me. Head of number 9, 3U, who obviously really let a lot of punters down last start. And obviously there was a big news story with James McAvoy's riding that race. And obviously, he copped a bit of a suspension from that, so you could potentially suggest that maybe she'll bounce back, and because prior to that she was in really good form. So you got to think that if she goes back to that type of form, she can run well here in a race like this at $5.50. So she goes in for second. In for third, number 1, Outback Diva, who was really good winning last start at Rose Hill a couple of weeks back, and has had a bit of a fresh up since then. Beat Malia Magic there, who's since run well as well. So the form around Outback Diva has been pretty good. Comes into it third up, so I think you can see a good performance from her once again. If you want to back her, she's probably at a good price. And the other horse that I do like in the race and the market that does suggest that it's got a chance is number 5, Miss Reed Double, who finished third in that in a race one word for word bound to win the last start, and I think then prior to that finished second behind 3 So look, the fact that Miss Reed Double's going to be given a chance in that case, then if 3 is going to be up there as well. But look, I do think that they are the top 4. The other chances in the race, I think that perhaps Vitesse could see an improved performance, and Riva Capri, who, she doesn't mind the heavy track, so she could run a good race as well off the back of a good third at Warwick Farm last start. But look, I'm pretty keen to go with number 2, Zerhaya on top. I think she's got a very good chance. So she goes on top ahead of number 9, 3 Udin for second. In for third, I've got number 1, Outback Diva, and in for fourth, number 5, Miss Reed Double. Moving on to race number 8 on the program. Now it's a Heineken 3 benchmark 78 over 1,300 metres. Look at the speed map for this race here. I'd suggest that Bergen and Noble Joey will probably find the top, with Tarsin probably just pressing on towards the pace. Rari won't be far off, and Cuban Morel will probably get forward from that inside barrier as well, I would suggest. Not a stack of pace in this one, but I'm hoping they go to a good enough tempo to set it up for number 4, Crystal Breeze here. I think will be winning this race. I was very impressed with its first Australian race start, first up at Canterbury. Just got over the top of Van Giz, much to my dismay, because I was on Van Giz, but I thought that was a really good win, and it's a horse that you want to be following from that. It's a horse that obviously come over here from the UK, run first up. Looks to be once again over further distance, but the fact that it won well first up over 1,200 metres and gets that extra 100 metres, I think it'll run well enough here. So $5.50 is a good price about it. It goes on top for me. Ahead of number 2, Rari of a second, who comes in this second up off the back of a 5th first up at Rose Hill behind Outback Dam, Malia Magic. So we'll get a bit of a guide on the form line there of Rari, obviously with Outback David going around in the race prior to this one. So it goes in for second. I think it can run well second up, and obviously is a pretty consistent horse overall. So backing it $4.80, $1.90 the place is a good price. Number 3, Handspun. She's getting very close to a win now. She's been good at 2 starts since returning from a spell, and she's getting closer and closer to that win. I'm sure she'll run a good race as well at $4. I think she's got a very good chance. And the other horse that I think that is worth a bit of a mention is probably, where was it? Number 6, sorry, not number 6, number 5, Bergen, who has always had a bit of ability, just hasn't been able to put it together on the heavy tracks. But I thought its last start, 6, was actually not too bad behind Ballet Master and Band of Smash. So I think it reads better than what perhaps the result says. But look, recap the numbers for me. I am keen on number 4, Crystal Breeze, ahead of number 2, Rari, in for second. In for third, number 3, Handspun, and in for fourth, number 5, Bergen. And I think Chara Terra is probably the other one that is a bit of a danger just to the top 4 in my market. So yeah, just to mention before I get into race number 9, sorry about these couple of little chop outs here. I'm at the moment got the race on in the background, so I am keeping a bit of an eye on that. So apologies for that. I've cut out a couple of times to be watching the race at Hawkesbury and Cranbourne. Just had a nice winner there, so I'm pretty happy about that. But moving on to the final race of the card, just finishing off the Randwick meeting, looking at race number 9. The speed map here in the final race of the card, of course, being a 600 metre drink-wise benchmark 78 race. So it suggests that Assault and Bathory will find the top. Agassi probably won't be far behind. Big Boy Roy will be close enough. And Got Unders is probably the other one that'll be up towards the pace as well. So not a whole lot of speed in this race here, and I think it'll be able to suit perfectly for number 3 Agassi. I think it's going to be really hard to beat here. It was a good winner last time out, being Mr. Dependable. I've got Mr. Dependable on top earlier in the cards. So I've got to go with Agassi here again as well. And the fact that it just looks to get a perfect running behind the speed, $3.90 looks a nice price for me. So it goes on top. Head of number 11, Convinced too. I think probably he's looking for a slightly drier track than a heavy. It was a bit of a average run last start when it was pretty well backed behind in the Agassi and Mr. Dependable race. But if the track does dry it a little bit, I don't think we'll get that soft track that it probably is after. It could run well enough. Obviously, first up, we finished third at Randwick on the Kensington track, and I really liked that run. It was a really good performance. So, look, I'm not sure if it can turn the tables on Agassi, but it's a horse at $9.50 is probably a bit over the odds, so it goes in for second. In for third, number 12, Adana. Look, he's a very hard horse to catch. Early days in his sort of 2-year-old and early 3-year-old career, he looked to have an absolutely immense amount of ability. Hasn't really gone on with it since, but he is a horse that does save his best sort of form on the heavy tracks more often than not. So he was okay last start in that Agassi Mr. Dependable race. He obviously did beat Convinced Home, and he goes around $11. So he's got claims in for third as my third pick, and in for fourth, number 5, New Arrangement, who obviously comes out of that last start performance last week behind Orsian and Monegal, so that the quick 7-day backup here reads well. It was a really big drift of the betting on that day, and much to my surprise, because I was on it and I ended up going at it again at the $12 and it ran a good place. So I was happy enough with that, and I think this horse could run well. But like I said, that betting drift was a little bit of a concern last start, but it still ran well and has a 7-day backup here, so we could see a good performance from it. Other dangers of the race, I have left Big Boy Roy out just because he hasn't performed on a heavy track yet, and but he does come out of that Ballet Master Bandersnatch form, which I like in the race prior to this one. So he definitely does have a chance, and the market obviously suggests that. But I just couldn't find him. I had a couple others that I thought were just ahead of him, but I think he's probably the only other danger outside of my top 4. So recap the numbers for me: number 3, Agassi, goes on top, ahead of number 11, Convinced. In for second. In for third, number 13, Adana. And in for fourth, number 5, New Arrangement. Now look at the best bets on the program for Randwick, and number 3, Agassi, in the final race. I know he is very hard sometimes to follow, but just for me, this looks a race it's so winnable for him. Looks to have everything in his favour in that race. So at $3.90, going to make him one of my best bets. It's race number 9, and it is number 3, Agassi. The other one that I really was quite keen on comes around in race number. Not race number 3. No, race number 4, Mr. Dependable at the $2.70. I think he's my other best bet of the program. So race number 4, number 7, Mr. Dependable at $2.70. In terms of the best sort of each way bets of the program, or best value bets, I'm in race number 7, number 2, Zerhaya. I think she's well over the odds at being the second up form that she has. She at $14. I'm definitely going to be having a good each way play at her. I'm really counting her chances. So she's one of my best value bets of the program. So it is in race number 7, and it is number 2, Zerhaya, at the $14. The other one that I really do like at a bit of a price comes in race number. Look, I'm going to go with race number 1. I'm not massively confident on Concealed at the $27, but it's the fact that I'm not willing to put something at $5 as the best value bet. So Concealed goes in at the $27 as one of my other best value bets. But look, I am quite keen, for what it's worth, on Spaceboy and Best Stone at the $5. So I'm not going to put them as best value bets, but I am quite keen on their chances. But that of course is my tips for every race, and obviously my preview for each race at Randwick. Obviously, good luck if you are going to be playing there. Hopefully we can both find plenty of winners. All of us really. It was a good day for punters all round. Looking forward, obviously we've got a couple of good races really starting up, and then obviously we'll be leading into the likes of the Everest, and then obviously the Melbourne Cup Carnival. And then obviously Cox Plate, Caulfield Guineas, Caulfield Cup. Really looking forward to a massive few months of racing ahead. Really looking forward to hopefully I don't know about you guys in Sydney. You guys are probably a little bit ahead of us, so you probably have a chance of seeing some crowds across your couple of weeks in the spring. Obviously, the Everest Day. I can't really see for Caulfield Guineas and Caulfield Cup there being a crowd down here, unfortunately, which would be weird to see. But look, what can we do? It's an ever changing environment, and it changes every month. So we never know. We might have the crowds back by then. We will have to wait and see. Hopefully, we do, because it's going to be some amazing racing, and hopefully, we can potentially get the internationals over here. As much as I'd love to see Australians battling out, there's just that bit of interest because, like with last year with the Melbourne Cup. It was just so good having an Australian horse beating the internationals, knowing that it didn't just win out of default of them not being there. It won and actually beat them fair and square. And that's what we like to see. We want to see our horses taking on the best of the best. So hopefully they do get their chance to come over. We'll have to wait and see. And obviously I'll be talking to my UK guests in a couple of weeks to see what it is looking like from their end, whether any of the trainers are getting preparations ready in case they're allowed to come. So we'll look forward to that. Obviously, I hope you find plenty of winners tomorrow. Go check out my Flemington preview if you haven't already done so. Go and give me a like this video, comment down below any of your thoughts. I'll be responding to them. I really look forward to obviously looking at all those. If you watch this video after the races, feel free to drop any comments down below. I will be coming back and doing a review show. Obviously, we're going to be looking to build a bit of a black book ahead of the spring as well. So look forward to doing that. So leave your comments down below. Both before and after Saturday as well. Feel free to do that, and I'll be answering them coming probably either Sunday or Monday. I'll be popping up my review video of the Saturday racing, so look, stay tuned for that. But yeah, go and give me a follow on social media if you haven't already done so. C.lane_racing tips on Instagram and C.lane race tips on Facebook. But until next time, until probably Sunday or Monday, good luck. Hopefully we find plenty of winners and you enjoy the great racing on Saturday.